welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am Willie Bragg. I'm in a different part of the house today for a couple of reasons, and that's I'm actually in the dining room today, but you can't see the background. It's kind of cold in this house, and it's a place where the space heater works best for me in here. So the sound's a little bit off. That would explain things. So just want to go and mention that real quick and make my quick hellos to everyone. Miguel, how are you doing this morning? I am okay. Yep. Bread and circus to distract the ongoing genocide. That is an angle that I do see as well. That now you brought it to my attention. And what I'm about to say, you pretty much said it right here. What the Supreme Court's going to do ultimately, and the level of ridiculousness that exists and everything. I don't know about cornbread. I had a little bit of that last night at Cracker Barrel. My parents are here for Christmas, so we went out to the Cracker Barrel last night and everything. I slept for a little while. I got up, took a nap, got up, and I was like, let me go ahead and make a video. So here I am making a video. Yes, it is cold in our dining rooms, and the Black Mirror sucks all the heat. Well, this little space heater is going to warm up the place real quick. So I'm really good. So how are you doing, Chooses Carnation Revolution now? How are you doing today as well? So what I want to discuss, it came to my attention in getting up in the middle of the night, just looking on the news and finding out that the U.S. Supreme Court, not the U.S. Supreme Court, the Colorado Supreme Court basically disqualified Donald Trump for being on the ballot for the 2024 election. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the story real quick, and I'm going to share my thoughts and play some videos that's kind of adjacent to this issue as to, what I think of this whole situation. So let's start with the article. This is from Associate Press. And let me get the article here, and I'll start reading what I learned so far. And this is Donald Trump banned from Colorado ballot in historic ruling by state Supreme Court by Nicholas Riccardi. And it starts basically with this. Election 2024, Trump insurrection amendment. While former President Donald Trump speaks during a rally at Sunday, December 17, 2023, in Reno, Nevada, Colorado Supreme Court Tuesday, December 19th, declared Trump ineligible for the White House under the U.S. Constitution insurrection clause and removed him from all states' presidential primary ballots, setting up likely a showdown in the nation's highest court to decide whether the front runner of the GOP nomination can remain in the race. So, Denver, Associate Press, a divided Supreme Court on Tuesday declared former President Donald Trump ineligible for the White House under U.S. Constitution insurrection clause and removed him from states' presidential primary ballot, setting up a likely showdown in the nation's highest court to decide whether the front runner for the GOP nomination can remain in the race. The decision from the court, whose justices were all appointed by Democratic governors, marks the first time in history that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. A majority of the court holds that Trump is disqualified from holding the office of the presidency under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, the court wrote in its 4-3 decision. Colorado's highest court overturned a ruling from a district court judge who found Trump's incited an insurrection for his role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol, but said that he could not be barred from the ballot because it was unclear that's a provision intended to cover the presidency. The court stayed in its decision until July 4th or until the U.S. Supreme Court rules on the case. Colorado official says that the issue must be settled by January 5th, the deadline for the state to print its presidential primary ballots. We do not reach these conclusions lightly, wrote the court's majority. We are mindful of the magnitude and weight of the questions now before us. We are likewise mindful of our solemn duty to apply the law without fear or favor, and without being swayed by public reaction to the decisions that the law mandates we reach. Trump's attorney had promised to appeal any disqualification immediately to the nation's highest court, which has the final say about the constitutional matter. Trump's legal spokesman, Alina Habba, said in a statement Tuesday night, this ruling issued by the Supreme Court attacks the very heart of the nation's democracy. It will not stand, and that we must trust the Supreme Court will reverse this unconstitutional order. Trump did. I got a little interruption here. Trump did mention the decision during the rally Tuesday evening in Waterloo, Iowa, but his campaign sent out a fundraising email, what is called a tyrannical ruling. Okay, see, Republicans National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel labeled the decision election interference and said that the RNC's legal arm team intends to help Trump fight the ruling. Trump has lost Colorado by 13 percentage points in 2020, and it doesn't need the state to win the next year's election. But the danger for the former president is that more court and election officials will allow the lead and exclude Trump from must-win states. There's a little more to it, but what I want to say about that is that it sounds like basically election. I don't think that the 2020 election. Let me put it this way: I don't think that the 2020 election was rigged the way the Republicans claimed it was rigged. I really do not believe that. Do I think there are infractions in every presidential election by both sides? Absolutely. But I do not think that 2020 was, that Donald Trump was deprived of his presidency because of massive voters fraud and that sort of thing. I honestly never believed that. And the thing about it is that I do believe that there's been other elections in the past. I think 2000 in Florida. I think Ohio in 2004 was a hell of a lot more questionable. And I'm not even a fan of Al Gore, and I'm not even a fan of John Kerry. But the very same people who claims that there was voter fraud in 2020 through Dominion, these voting machines. These are the same voting machines that were largely used, certainly in Ohio, I believe, and that was used in the election. And I believe it was used in Florida too, if I remember correctly. And what I can gather from all this is this: that the Republicans and the right wing were making fun of Democrats and people on the left when they were talking about, voting machines being, rigged in 2000 and 2004. But these same people all of a sudden use that same accusations, which is less true under the 2020 election results. We don't want to know why Joe Biden, who's a horrible president, by the way, Joe Biden is a horrible president. You want to know why why he won the election? It's very simple. if Hillary Clinton would have been president, she would have lost for the very same reason Donald Trump lost in 2020. And that is the ill-fated response to COVID. In fact, I think Hillary Clinton's response would have been worse than Donald Trump's. At least we did get some stimulus checks from Donald Trump. The very thing that Republicans lecture me about in the past about, oh, those stimulus checks just ruin the economy. But yet Donald Trump is supposedly the best president since Ronald Reagan that they ever had. But at the same time, what he did with the stimulus checks wrecked the economy. But they somehow give the credit to Joe Biden and Democrats who actually really, whatever with stimulus checks. It's kind of weird, what very few good things that Trump did, they blame it on the Democrats as if it was a bad thing. That's what we're coming down with. Now, this is not an endorsement of Trump at all. I want to make that clear. This is not an endorsement of Trump. I have no intention of voting for Donald Trump. I have no intention of voting for any Republican running for president in 2024. I have no intention of voting for Joe Biden or a potential replacement candidate if this senile old man, Joe Biden, doesn't get, somehow, if he's somehow off the, going to be replaced by, I don't know, probably Gavin Newsom. So that's what it comes down to. And what do I think about this whole thing? Absolutely nothing. As far as the Democrats are concerned, there was no cheating, and I'm getting off the side subject here. What I want to say is that what I think the problem is that that the cheating is possibly taking place this year with these efforts to keep them off the ballot. I am uncomfortable with this sort of thing. I really am. Because here's the thing, one of the big differences between Democrats and Republicans would be this. And that is that the Democrats are less efficient at revenge politics than the Republicans are. If there's one thing that Republicans are good on, they're good on revenge politics. You saw that what Governor Abbott of Texas and Governor DeSantis did with the migrant workers, sending them to blue states. And, and that sort of thing. And honestly, I think that they should be arrested under human trafficking. They were human trafficking. They were committing human trafficking when they did that sort of thing. This is not against the immigrants being here. I welcome them here. In fact, I would say keep the immigrants here, deport Abbott and deport DeSantis as far as I'm concerned. But suffice to say that, is this the best that Democrats can do to ward off the orange boogeyman? Is this the best they can come up with? Because I would think that actual good policy will outshine anything that the Republicans would come up with. We know that the Republicans will not do shit. We know that. We know these things. If we don't, we should know that by now. Again, I am not a Republican. I would never vote for a Republican. Because, since I had an understanding of what the Republicans were all about, as soon as I got my understanding, I'm just not a conservative. I'm not a social conservative. I am not a foreign policy neocon. I am not I'm not a crony capitalist style capitalist, corporatist. I'm not any of these things. I'm not, I don't believe in the politics of the religious right. I'm not saying this to be I'm a good person or whatever, but I'm a very tolerant person when it comes to race relations and ethnic diversity and all of this sort of thing. My politics is better than anything that the Republicans could ever come up with. When I think of the Republican Party in the year 2023, I think of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that is something that doesn't appeal to me. But what also doesn't appeal to me about the Democrats is that they promise the bare minimum, and then even on the bare minimum, they do not deliver. And it's happened way too many times. Happens way too many times. And getting back to what I was saying, that the politics you heard Donald Trump say it recently. I am your retribution. Now, I think that Donald Trump is a goofball. I think that Donald Trump is silly. I think he's lazy. I think he's a blowhard. I don't take him seriously. I think he's stupid, tell you the truth. I think he's fucking stupid as hell, if one must know my opinion of Donald Trump ultimately. But what makes Donald Trump different in a non-negative way from your standard Republican is the fact that you get a lot of chaos. The United States was accidentally less aggressive around the world during the Trump presidency because Trump was so busy fighting the shit-livs resistance and fighting the neocon establishment. And they had an unspoken alliance against Donald Trump. And Glenn Greenwald says something very similar. So I don't take Trump seriously at all. I don't take Trump threat seriously. I am by far more frightened of the prospects of Ron DeSantis becoming president or Nikki Haley becoming president, because with all their faults, and they have, in some cases, they may even express positions as less toxic than Trump, but they are establishment and they know how to get shit done. The very idea of more war that Nimrata Ranhadwa, that's Nikki Haley's real name, is offering and wanting to go and try to infringe on the right and the privacy of people on social media should be a major alarm as to why that Karen should never be in the White House. Ron DeSantis, I mean, he somebody said it best. Florida is a laboratory for fascism right now. Donald Trump is a comedy show. It's just a bad comedy show. Now, I'm just going to give you an example. One of the later examples of his authoritarianism, referring to yes, I am saying this, that Donald Trump. I mean that what's his name is worse, and that's Ron DeSantis. I'm going to give you an example of this right now. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and try to find it. Let's see right here. Farron Cousins, who lives in Florida, he can be a shitlib at times, but he's not wrong in his assessment on DeSantis. So I'm going to play a little bit of Farron Cousins. Give me a moment here. As I said, he's not wrong. And my computer is freezing up a little bit, so hold tight here. Here we go.
Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, told us that he is over his fight with Disney. That is so 2022. Ron DeSantis wants us to think like, oh my God, 2 years ago called, they want their controversy back, right? He doesn't want to fight with Disney anymore. That's pointless. And then, of course, this week, we learned that DeSantis's cronies on that new oversight tourism board, whatever they call themselves, the one that took over from the Disney board that was running that special district, that group has now filed a complaint alleging that the perks and benefits that the former board members had received from working for Disney, because being a part of that board that Disney controlled, they worked for Disney. But the board, with DeSantis's people, says they got perks that cost this district $2.5 million last year. Okay, that's a lot of perks. So what did this tiny group of people get that was worth $2.5 million? Phew. Season passes to Disney, discounts on hotels, merchandise, food, and beverages. $2.5 million because the board members and their family members, their immediate family members, got discounts on food and beverage and merchandise at the Disney parks. Unless they were nonstop eating at Disney parks all day, every day, no breaks, that's not going to cost you $2.5 million. Look, I know Disney's expensive. I go once a year at least, pretty much. I know how much the season passes are for Florida residents. So you're talking $1,300 a person. Do you know how many of those $1,300 season passes you have to get to add up to $2.5 million? It's a lot. Do you know how many Cokes you have to buy at a park at a discount? Because we're only talking about the discounted price, which for the record for season pass holders is 20%. So you're talking about saving, I don't know, 40 cents a Coke. You know how long it takes to screw them out of 40 cents to reach $2.5 million? This is insane. But the board says they cost the district $2.5 million. So we want to strip them of their benefits from working for Disney. Like you don't have the right to do that. You can't strip employees of a private company of the benefits that private employer gives them. Now, you may not agree with it. You may not think it's fair. Like, oh, why do they get that? We only get health insurance. Oh, well, go work for Disney if you want the free park passes. But this is the grossest overreach that we have seen from this board yet. I mean, it's borderline sociopathic. These people are actually just the worst, most disgusting, deplorable, despicable humans I have ever seen, because this is not about actually making the district money. I have no doubt that the real amount of money that they screwed the district out of was way under $2.5 million. There's no way a group of 15 to 20 people would have spent $2.5 million if they hadn't gotten these perks. That wouldn't have happened. But it is what it is. Florida, folks, I'm sorry to say, like, just write us off. Like, we're done. I'm going down with the ship, unfortunately, down here in Florida. Y'all don't have to, because this whole state is going to hell. Oh, by the way, let's not forget, we also now have flesh-eating bacteria running rampant, and almost 24 people have died this year from the flesh-eating bacteria. So please, I hate to say it, it's time to write us off and just let us go. Y'all will be fine. You'll be better off without us. Ring of Fire has fresh content.
You know, it's funny. Jan Perlman said the same thing to me when I interviewed her a few months ago about Florida. You know, anyway, that's an example right there. This is the kind of thing you would expect under the next Republican presidency, whether it's Donald Trump, who will do it but fail because he's a goofball and he doesn't have loyal people around him because he has an unrealistic view of what he considers loyalty. So, you know, he's a wannabe dictator that's too incompetent to be one. At best, I could say that. With Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, they got what it takes institutionally to do dictatorship. So that's like a major difference right there. And trust me, I think that I think that Republicans, once they get a taste of revenge, would do this. But we're getting back to the Supreme Court ruling in Colorado. That's going to get struck down in the Supreme Court. It will be struck down in the U.S. Supreme Court. And when that happens, you know, Donald Trump, it's almost as if you're trying to make Donald Trump, win this election. I know that's going to be great for fundraising for Democrats, and that's what I think it is at the end of the day. So anyway, but many of his minions, referring to the minions of Ron DeSantis, speaking of Ron DeSantis earlier, loves the idea of dictatorship as expressed by Matt Walsh. Pardon me for playing Kyle Kalinske, but this is relevant.
Ass movie, Lady Ballers, which, look, if it came out in like 1999 and it was done by people who are actually good at acting, yeah, there was potential there. But with the Daily Wire doing it, you just know they violate like the cardinal rule of art, which is show, don't tell. They are tell. Like, that's all they do is tell. They bonk you over the head with their politics with a mallet. But anyway, today we have Matt Walsh here. And man, I almost want to give credit to him because he's loathsome, but he's very direct. And I kind of respect that. Like the other, you know, I feel like other right-wing commentators are a lot more weaselly. Sometimes they play hide the ball or they try to like intellectually dress up their bad opinions. He's just like, I am the man with bad opinions. okay, fair enough. So these are his thoughts on democracy.
Expanding voting rights in this way is obviously not what you do if you actually care about the future of our country, or if you want to preserve our democracy. I mean, you could say the most effective way.
If you want to preserve our democracy, you wouldn't want to expand voting rights.
Undermine our democracy is to let too many people participate in it. So you undermine the democracy by letting too many people into it. Like, democracy it's not some magical thing. Okay, democracy is not magic. It is not exempt from the basic rules of life. And one of the basic rules of life is that too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the broth. Okay.
So then, look, I'm going to take back what I said earlier because he's not being direct. Then just say you don't love democracy. You don't have to do this like, I love democracy, I want to save it. And by doing that, I mean, I want to undo democracy. Like, that doesn't make sense. I love democracy so much that I want to destroy it, is effectively his argument.
Basic rules. No matter what it is, whatever you're trying to accomplish, you can reach a point where there are too many people involved in it.
That argument, in some contexts, makes sense. It does not make any sense when it comes to politics. If you want to say, like, somebody's, like we were just talking about a movie, somebody's making a movie. You want one person with one vision, and then you implement it. Like, you know, the guy who wrote George R.R. Martin.
Okay, here's the thing. Democracy. You know, I mean, AOC said she was glad that Tucker Carlson was deplatformed. Sorry, that was my alarm clock. AOC said she wants to she proven the deplatforming of Tucker Carlson because you know, because she has this ill-fated notion of preserving democracy, but she cares more about silencing, you know, Tucker Carlson, who has odious opinions, to be sure. He's correct on a few things too. And that makes him different from a Ben Shapiro or a Sean Hannity or Mark Levin, who's always wrong all the time. But she cares more about silencing Tucker Carlson in this so-called name of preserving democracy than fighting for Medicare for all, which is why, you know, I absolutely have no respect for AOC anymore. But this whole notion that people like, you know, people like Matt Walsh, he's sort of the, I use the word lightly, you know, the intellectual pulse of the DeSantis movement. I hate to use the word intellectual, but you know, he's pretty much telling you what you want. What needs to be done in this country, according to him. But also, Heritage Foundation has this, what is called Project 2025, which is kind of tied up with this, because Project 2025 is basically wants to do away with what they consider the managerial state and the experts that it takes for the economy on some of the very few positive things that we do as a society, and put their own cronies in there. So they can pretty much, you know, we live in a gilded age, but we'll really, really be going back into a time machine, back into the 1890s, where monopolies exist and the unions are just crushed, and you got child labor, which is happening in red states. You talk about violating children's rights. You know, you hear these little Christian Republicans doing this sort of thing, but they're fine with child labor being exploited. You know, they're not really consistent people, are they? But the point I'm trying to make is, you know, we're on kind of like on a little road toward dictatorship coming from other directions. And a lot of people are coming out right now on their quest for dictatorship. They really want this shit. They really do. And you know, here's the thing. Jimmy Dore probably, between the three I'm showing you tonight, between Farron Cousins and Kyle Kalinske, Jimmy Dore probably provides the best analysis of Trump here. And let me go ahead and find that video, and let's see. And there's a little context. I'm not exactly challenging Jimmy Dore on, but I'm going to give you my little bit of spin on it too, because let's go ahead and do this here. All right.
Trump was a cartoon version of the real fascist that's on his way. The same conditions that gave us Donald Trump wasn't racism. That wasn't what gave us Donald Trump. It wasn't racism. We had just elected a black guy president 2 times in a row, overwhelmingly. And a lot of those people who voted for him voted for Trump. And it wasn't because of racism, because that's what people want you to think. Is Trump racist? Is there racism in America? Yes. That's not what gave us Trump. What gave us Trump is people desperate economically because a class war has been waged against workers in this country since 1980, and it's been won by the billionaire class. That's why. What we're trying to say is that Trump was a cartoon version of the real fascist that's on his way. The same conditions.
And where is the lie in that? Now, like Jimmy Dore said, is there any racism that played a role in this Trumpist movement? Absolutely. But people were so tired of getting fucked over by Democrats. We're talking about these blue collar workers, union workers in places like the Pennsylvanias and the Michigans and the Ohios and the Wisconsins and all of that back in 2016. And, instead of Hillary offering, more economic populism and borrowing ideas from Bernie Sanders, she shifted rightward and doubled down on neoliberalism. And Trump understood that the whole idea of tireless tax cuts for the wealthy and rhetoric and championing war all the time and just obsessing over the gay marriage. He didn't do none of that in 2016. He said some awful things about immigrants that I passionately disagree with, and he said some pretty reactionary shit. But he is an entertainer, and he knows how to grift. And he said enough because he knows what will get the right wing crowd going. I think that Donald Trump could easily talk like a shit lib and get the shit libs behind him. And I predict that if Ron DeSantis become president, that Donald Trump would be rehabilitated. And it's that picture of Michelle Obama hugging George W. Bush. Substitute that with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hugging on Donald Trump because people found out that these other Republicans are in fact not just a cartoonish version, but the real McCoy as far as the fascism is concerned. My whole thing is this: revenge politics is on its way if this keeps up, and that's my point. Revenge politics. Don't engage in this revenge politics. You defeat your opponents, and we're talking about the right wing and the corporate Democrats, the ones who are basically woke neocons. That's the Democrats and the actual fascist party, the Republicans. The best ways to defeat them is by showing them whose ideas are better. In Canada, you have the New Democratic Party, and they run to the left of the Tories, which is a less shitty version of the Republicans, and the Liberal Party, which is a less shitty version of the Democrats. And the New Democratic Party basically ran these candidates all these years with policies that actually made Canada a better country than the United States in many ways. Now, I don't like Justin Trudeau. I don't like the way he governs. I have a lot of problems with him. And I have a lot of problems with kind of a Nick subservient way that the NDP has in their relationship with him these days. But there's still the option. We don't have that option. We need to create that option here in the United States. And we do. But to keep Trump off the ballot here in North Carolina and here in the United States is not the way you're going to go about it. You're just going to make him more sympathetic. You're going to make him either more sympathetic or more like a badass. And liberals, shit libs, know how to do this. They know, like in the words of Nick Cruz, they are there to make left-wing politics as non-appealing as possible. And he said that pretty recently. So, that's what we got to worry about. The left's got a lot of work to do. They do. So, with that being said, I am going to be talking to y'all here on the chat line. and then I'm going to have another video soon at around 7 o'clock. So you can say back on back tonight, like I did last week. Let's see here. Choosy Heretics chooses Carnation Revolution now. Says, yeah, it's cold and our dining rooms are in Black Mirror, sucks up all the heat. Yeah, let's see. Let's see here. Shoot, Willie, I never thought I got a local Cracker Barrel before. I thought I never even got to try a local Cracker Barrel before they close. Oh, yeah, they're kind of spread around the country. Nikki, the streamer Nikki, says something about when she was younger, she used to go to Cracker Barrel with her parents or grandparents, and when she was a little girl, she liked the toys there, but she never liked eating out there. She said that in one of her streams about 2 years ago. I remember that. That was when she was commenting on the Tim Black video where he called Marjorie Taylor Greene the Cracker Barrel eating motherfucker. Let's see. All right. Let's see here. What do we got? All right. I'm gonna go down here. Scroll down a little bit. I saw some newbies here. Yeah, Earl, how are you doing today? Yep, I'm kind of early. I was off last night, and I fell asleep. Got up, got hungry. Went to Waffle House and came back and decided to do a video. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, all right. Let's see here. All right. I'm just kind of scrolling through here a little bit because I'm gonna sign off in a moment. Get ready for the next video. I see Rick Solis on the chat line here. Hey, how are you doing, Rick? Always great seeing you too. And we have here, I'm just scrolling through, see what everybody else has to say right now. Okay. All right, and scrolling through, and I'm probably going to, I don't see any new people here. I'm probably going to, hold on a second here. All right, let's see what Rick has to say here. If they are successful throwing Trump off the ballot, I can see that as the beginning of states succeeding. That's an interesting point. That is an interesting point. I've actually always predicted that some states would succeed from the United States at some point in the near future. If that happens, I guess I'll have to make sure I'm living in a state that's closer to my values, oh well. So anyway, let me say that if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment anyway if you disagree with what I have to say. Share this content on this channel as a First Amendment absolutist. It's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. And to subscribe to this channel here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, go ahead and subscribe to all of them. And remember to always reject capitalism, reject the neocon wars, free Palestine, fight for free speech, and, of course, free Julian Assange, and so much, much more. So until next time, I am Willie Bragg. I will talk to you soon. Peace.